Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating perspective from author Octavio Baez Hidalgo. He's putting forward a bold and honestly kind of controversial argument. He says that the everyday spreadsheet, that basic grid of cells you probably have open in another tab right now, is actually the world's most successful visual programming tool. It's like a hidden superpower hiding in plain sight.
So let's kick things off with a question that might just completely challenge your assumptions about software development. If I were to ask you to name the most widely used programming language in the entire world, what would you say? Your mind probably jumps straight to Python, right? Or Java, or maybe C#. But if we look at this through a cognitive and neuroscientific lens, the answer is way more ubiquitous than that.
That's right, spreadsheets. No way, right? But seriously, today we're going to uncover the massive computational power sitting quietly right there on your desktop. We'll explore exactly why this everyday tool has pretty much silently revolutionized how the world actually gets programmed.
Section 1. The Dawn of Spreadsheets, a Brief History.
Okay, to really understand this paradigm shift, we've got to look back for a second. Spreadsheets didn't just appear out of nowhere, you know. They were literally the catalyst for modern personal computing. The foundation actually starts way back in 1972 with Richard Mattessich, an academic who created the conceptual framework with his work on budgeting models. Then, in the late 70s, Pardo and Landau attempted to patent the idea. But the real game changer? That hits in 1979 when Dan Bricklin releases VisiCalc. This was massive. VisiCalc wasn't just another piece of software. It was the very first crucial tool placed in the hands of the general public when personal computers were just being born. It was the killer app that made having a personal computer absolutely essential.
Section 2. What defines a programming language? The IT world's exclusion.
So, despite that undeniably revolutionary history and massive everyday impact, the vast majority of IT professionals systematically refuse to invite spreadsheets into the programming family. Why is that? Well, traditional definitions like this one you'd find on Wikipedia demand strict, formal language. They focus purely on instructions, sequences of commands, and traditional algorithms meant to control a computer's physical and logical behavior. It's rigid, it's highly structured.
And honestly, this perfectly illustrates a bit of snobbery in the IT world. Purists often exclude spreadsheets even from the incredibly broad, almost vague definition of a simple computer language. There's this deep-seated bias that, if you aren't writing lines of code in some dark terminal, you aren't really programming. But our author, he fundamentally disagrees with that whole idea.
Section 3. The Visual Programming Argument, a Cognitive Shift. Now, when we view this through the lens of neuroscience, the script flips completely. On one side, you have the rigid, rule-based world of traditional coding. Think your C# or your Java. You absolutely must follow formal grammar, or the whole system crashes. But on the other side, you have the flexible, visual programming of a spreadsheet. This is all about concrete, applied creation. There's no formal grammar required. And this cognitive shift is a huge deal because it means anyone, regardless of their technical background, is empowered to develop final functioning applications directly related to their own field.
Section 4. Non-programmers building powerful apps. Domain experts in action.
To prove this isn't just some theoretical debate, let's look at who's actually building critical applications out in the real world. This is where it gets incredible. You have cardiologists, medical specialists who know absolutely nothing about Java or C# or any of those traditional languages, and they are successfully programming complex diagnostic and monitoring systems for cardiovascular problems entirely on their own. Literally building life-saving tools. Then look at the financial sector. Accountants and financial technicians are creating these massive, complex economic networks. The sheer scale of this is even documented by organizations like the European Spreadsheet Risk Interest Group, or USPRIG. These domain experts, they aren't waiting around for IT to build something for them. They're visually programming the solutions themselves. Section 5. Shortening software development cycles, solving traditional friction.
Because of this unmatched accessibility we just talked about, spreadsheets completely bypass the traditional, often painful friction found in corporate IT. Think about the classic loop for a second. Step 1. The experts try their absolute best to explain what they need to the programmers. Step 2. A massive, soul-crushing waiting game begins while the IT department works through their endless backlog. Step 3. Well, because the experts actually have a job to do today, they build a provisional spreadsheet to do the work in the meantime. And Step 4. This is the real kicker. Through the very act of building that spreadsheet, the experts refine their own understanding of what they actually need, which means they change the specifications entirely. And obviously, this frustrates the traditional programmers who are still trying to code the old specs.
Spreadsheets organically solve this entire bottleneck by just letting the user be the developer from day one.
Section 6. The connected spreadsheet ecosystem, beyond the isolated grid.
To truly grasp their power today, we really can't talk about spreadsheets as if they're just isolated grids of numbers sitting alone on a hard drive somewhere. They have evolved into a highly connected ecosystem. Honestly, they have perhaps the most complete system of connections available. They seamlessly pull in external data, link up with vast databases, import text files, and integrate with almost all other computer applications. They are literally the ultimate cognitive glue holding countless business operations together.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative thought from the author about these blessed spreadsheets that you probably used every single day. The cognitive magic of this visual programming tool is so profound, so deeply effective for problem solving, that neuroscientists and mathematicians are quite literally breaking their heads trying to fully understand the mental processes that make them so powerful. It's a lot to think about, isn't it? The next time you open a spreadsheet, just remember, you aren't just doing data entry. You're actually engaging in one of the most successful forms of visual programming the world has ever seen. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.